I've been sending out the emails and corresponding, and some of you will already know me as your village agent, or through other means within villages. So my name's Tina. I'm the village agent in some of the North Somerset villages, and I cover Cleve, Rinkton, Redhill, Churchill, Langford, Brockley and Chelvey. And I've been doing the job for 5.5 years now. And we thought that given the circumstances of COVID-19 and the way it's affected all of our lives, we would try something a bit different and try and connect people virtually. And obviously you're all here because you've got a love of words in some way, shape or form, or you might know Michael, but you've seen some of his work before. Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining in. I did send out an email saying if you wanted to contribute in any way, shape or form, then that was all good. But if you don't, that's absolutely fine. So I'm now going to be very quiet, and I shall hand over to Michael.
Okay. It looks like Valerie's still struggling, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to give her another. She might have to give the system a permission to access her.
Yeah. Perhaps she should. I think, like somebody said, come off.
Out and go back in again.
Try to come back in and press those allow buttons. Yeah. Oh.
She comes up. Never mind. I'm going to put myself on mute so that you.
Okay then. Okay. Well, good afternoon. I hope you're all well. And how are you enjoying the autumn?
Oh, I love autumn. I've been out collecting conkers and acorns and looking across the field at the tree. No, I mean I actually even dug out my ode to autumn, the Keats, Seasons of Mists and Mellow Fruitfulness. So in fact,
lovely.
yes, I personally love autumn. I don't like days like today too much when it's very wet and soggy. But no, I personally love autumn, and as the nights draw in and it gets darker and it's toast around the fire and all that sort of thing. But yeah, that's me.
Ah, beautiful description. Perhaps you could read your ode to autumn at some point today, if you wish.
Yes, well, if you want me to at some point, yes, I'd love to. And I actually, strangely as well, I'm a great Brambley Hedge. When my children were little, they were into the little mice of Brambley Hedge, and I've got my little autumn plate. I've even got that with me as well. So I'm all kitted up for autumn.
Brilliant.
Brilliant,
Sorry,
Lindy.
Tina.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Lindy. Is anybody else an autumn lover?
I love this. I love the sounds, but also the colours. And it's been so windy that I'm seeing so many leaves come off the trees already, and they haven't changed colour. And it's oh, Valerie, we've got you. Can you hear us now? Oh, good. She's muted, but she can hear us. Yeah, so I'm very sad to see so many leaves coming off before they've managed to even change colour. Shall we just ask Valerie to unmute yourself to prove that we can hear you?
Yes.
Oh, now there's okay. Are you okay? Are you on an iPad or a computer? iPad, right? Who's got an iPad?
Well, me, I've got a mini iPad I'm on. But
so where on your screen does Valerie find the unmute?
Well, mine came up before I actually joined the group. It sort of came up as use video and then unmute, but it sort of automatically came up, I think. I can't see now.
Now that I'm on top right, top right of Valerie's screen.
It's just come up.
Yay!
Literally, thank you very much.
Success. We got there.
So sorry, apologies everybody.
No bother.
Brilliant. It's just Sheila, really. I have messaged her, so.
Okay. Well, welcome, Valerie, and I think it's a great relief for everybody. I mean, to see a human struggling, it's really hard work, isn't it? Let's all
sorry. We've
We
never
didn't
had a
read.
problem before on the other iPad, but we've
Yeah.
not used this one before, so it wasn't set up quite the same. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you're here. Welcome. Lindy has just given us a lovely introduction to autumn. I was asking if people like autumn, and Lindy is an autumn lover, and she was telling us about her brambly hedge.
Yes. Sorry.
Showed it to us up close to the camera, and Denise was just talking about the leaves flying off the trees, although they're still green. So yeah, I mean, I've been out for a walk today, and probably if you've been out or looked outside today, it was wind. It is wind, sun, rain, and rainbow.
Yes.
I've got a bit of a fascination of crows at the moment, and I heard them sort of chattering. I'm trying to find the right words for describing what how a crow talks. And I think there's a sort of a croaking. I
Croaking.
don't know what, any other words.
Well, they caw, don't they? They caw when you hear them in the trees, but
Yes.
when they're actually flying around and landing on your bird table or whatever, they do make another croaky, chittery sort of sound.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think when they're coming together and they're, you know, I think they're just regrouping and saying hello and flying close to each other and just reconnecting. And there is a sort of a, I don't know, I can't do even sound going on there, which I'm trying to hear so I can write it and say it, but.
Well, they call a collective a murder of crows.
Yeah.
So it could be a more sinister noise.
I like it.
Like a stab.
Yeah.
Well, maybe when they make their noise, they're conspiring. So that's a sort of,
Oh,
Oh, very good.
as they're conspiring.
yeah, a conspiring of crows. I was going to say a conspiration. I don't think that's a word, is it? We
It
could
is.
make-
It is,
No,
yes.
What do you think, Mary?
I'm agreeing. Am I on?
Yes.
I'm just sitting thinking, yeah, I wish I'd said that, because I didn't get in quick enough. Everything that everyone has said has been, just what I would have said too.
Yes, yeah.
Like, rain's a bit of a nuisance with but normally I love the autumn is my favourite time of year.
And do you know why? I mean, you don't have to know why, but
Because it's the end and the beginning, and it's the gentleness of it and the everything about it, and then I don't particularly enjoy the hot weather, and so it's lovely to wake up in the morning, the fresh smells and the yeah.
It does feel a season of transformation. More to me between summer and winter. That's the way my thoughts are going. Obviously, it stands as a season by itself, but I almost feel that the other seasons, okay, everything's changing and everything's transforming all the time, but the autumn just feels that passage of change and transformation, really, between the warm and the cold. Whereas I don't see that so clearly in the other seasons.
This year seems to be different, and it seems to be breaking all the rules because we've had such strong winds in the summer, and the trees have suffered with losing leaves very early on, some of them, and then it gets hot again, and then we go to wet again, and it's quite an unusual year, isn't it, in terms of transitions and so on. But I think once the light starts to change, you really do feel like you're in that transition, and I find you start to even think differently about how you shop for food and what sort of things you want in the house, and what gets you through those cold evenings and so on.
Yeah.
No, so it's lovely to hear all your thoughts about that. Yeah, I mean, I think this lockdown and this year, extraordinary year, has really, the big gift that I've received this year is to spend more time in nature. I've always loved nature. I've always been, I think, involved with it and been in it. But ordinarily, my work in sort of words and storytelling and creativity takes me into care homes and schools and hospitals. So a lot of indoors, but because of the restrictions, I have been sort of forced or offered the opportunity to create more sort of work opportunities out of doors, which I've been making and taking. And I've just, yeah, I don't know, my connection with nature has just deepened so much, profoundly. And I was just walking out today, and I don't know if you get that feeling that when you're in nature, for me, it's just so overpoweringly beautiful in all its aspects. I don't know what to do with myself. I don't, I don't know, you know, I just want to sort of hug it or embrace it or kiss it or something, but I don't know what to do.
But I think as well, having been been able to be out in nature, we've been able to be out there for so long. We've seen it through spring, summer, and into autumn. I mean, I'm living with my my mother was 100 in July, actually, and I'm living with her in her own home still. Now, in fact, when lockdown happened, we didn't go out for ages at all. I shot out and did some shopping, but she didn't. She stayed put here. And finally, when the Eat Out to Help Out time came round, and I took her out in the car and we went somewhere for a pub lunch, she said to me in wonder, she said, my goodness, she said, last time I was out, it was springtime. And then now it was full summer or whatever. And she sits looking out of a window across a lovely field, but nevertheless, she was suddenly conscious of being out in completely different weather from what we had been doing. And in fact, on Saturday, we went into Bath. My niece was married and it was a very, very wet day, but I was complaining about the rain. And my mother said to me, look, you know, it's just nice to be out in it, dear. So she became very appreciative. I mean, I was the one pushing the wheelchair and getting soaked. She was under a brolly, thoroughly relishing it all.
Oh, how wonderful. No, I just feel, I was going to say I feel like a child again, but I don't, in a way, because I don't think I was very sensitive as a child. I don't think I was very, very open to the feelings and the sort of I was going to say the causation. I don't know if that's a word, but how nature affected me. I mean, I understood that I was I loved playing football with a brother and chasing around outside with a brother and climbing trees and going on bike rides. So we knew if it was wet or hot, but the whole relationship with nature has been a sort of a later connection for me. But now I'm just really loving every moment. And to say that a moor is barren and bleak in a negative way, or to say rain is horrible and wet, and dark is cold, and all these sort of negative connotations, I'm just really looking forward to every single moment of what nature can offer. So like you say, when we change the clocks and it's darker earlier, or it's darker at the same time, isn't it, really, because we change the numbers.
But it becomes so productive, doesn't it, in autumn, because there's the blackberries in the hedgerows, and there's the elderberries in the trees, and you suddenly feel that there's nature's the amazing gift of nature. Yes. Goes, maybe in winter it dies away, but in autumn there's masses you can do, and all the windfall apples and chutneys and all that sort of thing. It's a very burgeoning fourth sort of season, as well as it being a dying away one.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's something that I love because I'm not from Somerset originally, I'm from the Midlands, but I love that feeling when you start to drive around the community and there's all the boxes of apples on the ends of people's drive, and you can have a little rummage and take some home and so on. It's kind of becomes sort of part of the tradition of settling into autumn, winter time.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I was sort of so attuned to the season of autumn, but not attuned to the actual human date system that I missed the harvest festival this Sunday that Nigel Thomas, a really good friend, to Clavering and Cleve, put on this Sunday, and I was really sad. It just didn't really occur to me that
I didn't realise either.
No,
Yes, we had our harvest festival, not this Sunday, but the Sunday before in Red Hill Church. And of course, you know, we couldn't sing, we plough the fields and scatter. We said them actually. We said the hymns, alternating each side of the church took a verse. So we said the hymns as poems. And you know that you get so much more meaning actually from them when you say them, and you're not so, I mean, it's not quite as nice without the music, but it felt that it became sort of more meaningful to say it. And we had the harvest loaf, and everybody took, there was potatoes and there was vegetables and massive great marrows, and that's, you're right, I mean, that's absolutely so autumnal really. Although people these days do take pasta and tins and tomatoes and all that sort of thing, but it all went down to Weston, to somewhere to go. So the produce of what we produced for our harvest bounty went off somewhere where it was very much appreciated as well, which is always nice.
Yes, and what a lovely thing to do, to be able to offer what, you know, has grown in your garden, and
yes, absolutely.
passed it on. And what a beautiful thing to do. That's glorious. So I've got a sort of a few ideas for today. I've chosen some poems with an autumnal theme. I've got a lovely passage from a book by Laurie Lee.
Oh, lovely.
Is it cider?
He's one of those people that I so want to read.
Yes.
I want to read him, but then I don't want to go past a sentence because I've left it behind, and I don't want to lose that paragraph or that page or that chapter.
When he starts his first day at school and the teacher says, sit there for the present. And he said, I sat there all day, but I didn't get the present.
Oh, I remember watching on TV. I'm not quite sure how old I was, but obviously I was getting a bit more sensitive and sort of feeling for human feelings and understanding them a bit more. But they did have a TV adaptation of As I Walked Out One Midsummer Morning, you know, when he was leaving his mum and his family behind in Stroud and walking to London, then walking to Spain, and that touched me so much. That was extraordinary.
Yes.
The way, you know, it was written, the way it was spoken, and it was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go. Sorry, somebody.
I know. I think I coughed. Sorry.
Was that a crow croaking cough?
No, not murderous or conspiratorial or anything.
Funnily enough, Michael, I happen to have a book here.
Yes.
Look who it's by. Can you see?
I'm guessing it's Laurie Lee.
It's Laurie Lee.
Yes.
Is it?
It is, and this is a book that I picked up at the Clevedon Community bookshop.
Oh yes.
And as a lot of old books have, we have an inscription inside that says Peter Burchill, 1960.
Oh, lovely.
And it smells wonderful.
Oh yes. A good plug for Clevedon Bookshop there as well.
Yeah.
I had thoughts of going there today. I thought, will I be able to make it there and back before 2:30? No. I won't. But that's a wonderful place, Tina, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. I mean, community and books.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Who needs anything else?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll read this one to you. It's by Emily Dickinson, and it's called "Like Rain, It Sounded Till It Curved." Am I okay? The right sort of volume?
Yeah,
Yeah,
fine
yeah.
for me.
Like rain, it sounded till it curved, and then I knew 'twas wind. It walked as wet as any wave, but swept as dry as sand. When it had pushed itself away to some remotest plain, a coming as of hosts was heard. That was indeed the rain. It filled the wells, it pleased the pools, it warbled in the road. It pulled the spigot from the hills and let the floods abroad. It loosened acres, lifted seas, the sights of centres stirred, then like Elijah rode away upon a wheel of cloud.
Oh,
I do love Emily. I think her poems are.
don't know that one at all. That's lovely.
I have another book here by. So strange that Michael's mentioning
Oh,
things that I have. and we haven't spoken to one another about this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
very
You've had a heads up.
Amazing.
Great minds think alike.
And yeah, I've got another one here, a slightly longer one by. Okay, so guess which book have I got in my hand now, Tina?
John, somebody I can't. Oh right, okay. I thought it might be Hardy, or it might have been Dylan Thomas. I was expecting.
Yeah, Dylan may be coming later.
Yeah.
So this is John Clare.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I don't know if you come across him, but you know, quite a thick book of his poems in a tiny font as well. I mean, he was a productive, prodigious poet. Okay, so this one's called The Autumn Wind. Oh yeah, and also when I'm sure hopefully you will hear what I'm saying, but there's a couple of words in here that I've never come across before. I tried looking them up in a dictionary, and I was quite happy that I didn't find their definition, because I think there are a couple of words in here. Perhaps we can give them our own meaning, unless you already know them. Okay. The autumn wind. The autumn wind on southering wings plays round the oak tree strong, and through the hawthorn hedges sings the year's departing song. There's every leaf upon the whirl, 10,000 items an hour. The grassy meadows crisp and curl with here and there a flower. There's nothing in the world I find that pleases like the autumn wind. The chaffinch flies from out the bushes, the blue cap tee-hees on the tree, the wind soos on in merry gushes his murmuring autumn's minstrelsy. The robin sings his autumn song upon the crabtree overhead. The clouds, like smoke, slow sail along. Leaves rustle like the human tread. There's nothing suits my musing mind so pleasant as the autumn wind. How many miles it southers on and stays to dally with the leaves, and when the first broad blast is gone, a stronger gust, the foliage heaves. The poplar tree, it turns to grey as leaves lift up their underside. The birch, it dances all the day to rippling billows petrified. There's nothing calms the quiet mind so welcome as the autumn wind. Sweet twittering o'er the meadow grass, soft soughing over the fallow ground, the lark starts up as on they pass with many a gush and moaning sound. It fans the feathers of the bird and roughs the robin's ruddy breast, as round the hovel end it whirled, then sobs and gallops o'er the west. In solitude the musing mind must ever love the autumn wind. Ah,
Lovely.
ah.
That was really
Mm.
Did you pick up that word, southering?
Southering, yes, that's
Southern,
interesting.
S-U-T-H. Anybody come across that word before?
southern.
The
No.
autumn wind on southering wings. Souther.
It's sort of almost onomatopoeic, isn't it, in a
Yes,
way?
yes.
Southering with
Rrr,
yeah, so
Muttering.
yes,
like a fluttering.
yes.
Mm.
What do you think, Kate? Any ideas? Southering?
Thank you very much for reading. I haven't heard of it, no,
No.
no.
It might be southerly.
But
Yes.
it hasn't got an O in it, has it? It's SU, so it's sort of
But yeah,
it's yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, Tina, because I've reading quite a bit of John Clare
Mm.
today and yesterday. There are those, like you just pointed out, there are different spelling
Yeah.
to how we spell words now.
absolutely.
Yes, it says southering wings, and the other one was how many miles it southers on. So you think almost like towards the
Yeah.
south in a southerly direction. Yeah.
Well, I've just asked Mr. Google here, and it did come up souther. It says third person singular, simple present, southers. One, regional, archaic, of the wind, to sigh or moan.
Oh, that's nice.
So there's one.
Yeah.
And another one is regional, archaic, of birds' wings, to whir, to whir. So you were right when we said that sort of that noise.
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
it's a mixture of all those.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's lovely. And the other one, did you hear the one? Where's it gone? Oh, can't find it. Oh yes, soft suing over the fallow ground.
But how do you spell that? Is that S-O-U-G-H?
No, it's S-U-E-I-N-G.
Oh, right, because you hear about the wind soughing. That is an acceptable description, isn't it? There's wind soughs through the trees, but
Okay.
interesting.
And how would you spell that, Lindy?
I would have spelled that S-O-U-G-H,
Oh, okay.
I
Because
think.
earlier he wrote the wind souse on in merry gushes, S-U-E-S.
Yes. Well, sough is of the wind in trees or the sea, etc. Make a moaning, whistling, or rushing sound.
Okay.
So that's the soughing.
Yeah.
But suing, maybe that's. I mean, John Clare was writing. I got his date. He's 17 something, wasn't he? So maybe that's an alternative,
Yeah.
alternative spelling, possibly.
Well,
but
yeah,
it's
like
lovely,
Tina
lovely
said,
word, suing.
yes, very interesting.
And not litigious.
Yes.
Lovely, Jill. Okay then. I was gonna tell you a story, an autumnal story, which doesn't come from this country. You may work out where it does come. I'm not reading on this one, so I'll take my glasses off. I probably won't be able to see you all now, but
That's not a bad thing.
Not missing much. Well, sorry, personally speaking, should I say? Present company accepted. Gone.
Okay.
Oh.
Whoop. I always forget to do this. Check if anything has appeared in your recording. I did that at school once, and I did the and there was a piece of fluff. The first note was quite a croaky cough. Okay, here we go. Wakonda. Wakonda, the great spirit, lay back, his head on the top of the mountain, looking out over his creation. For the many months of summer, he had created the magnificent mountains by digging great holes in the ground with his gnarled fingers and broken knuckles. He had dug deep into the earth to allow the rain to fall, to fill, to make the pools and the lakes. And with the rocks and the stones and the boulders, he had excavated deep there from the soil. He piled high, stone upon stone, rock upon rock, until he made the mountains on which he now rested. And further over to the west of the plain, where the wind blew and the wind soothed across the prairie, the brush, the fronds, the leaves, the branches and the boughs of the trees of the great forest rustled and whirred southerly. And he was pleased. And he reached to his pouch and picked out a pipe. He placed it upon his lip. And with his dream tobacco, his special blend of plant to help him dream and help him imagine and create further dreams and blessings for the earth, he lit the pipe. And then breathed and held his breath until the smoke came out from his mouth, came out from his nostrils, perhaps even his ears, to rise into a sky free of wind, a sky free of clouds. And there the smoke held and hovered like a cloud, the only cloud in a cloudless sky. And as Wakonda, the great spirit, leant back against the mountain, he looked and he saw the smoke that was the cloud that was a smoke shimmy and shiver, and a breeze began to blow. He felt a cold chill around his neck and the wrists of his hands. And then the cold wind became closer and closer. It blew and it bellowed. Stop, he said. This is not the time for the wind. This is the time for my rest, for my smoking and my dreaming and my creating. Hold off, wind from the north. Hold off your cold bellows until I give the sign. What will be the sign? Said the wind. You will know, said Wakonda. Look into the sky and you will see. And so the wind whistled and blew away. And there Wakonda inhaled and exhaled with the smoke leaping. creeping from his nostrils. And in those 10 days, those 10 fine days of warm, hot weather, of blue skies and no wind and no clouds, Wakanda dreamt deep, profound, great, everlasting thoughts and feelings that would emanate and pour forth from his body, from his spirit, from his heart, from his mind, from his soul, into the land. And at the end of the 10 days, with his last exhalation of smoke, which rose into the sky, which formed and hovered like a cloud above his head and above the mountain, the wind spied, the wind saw, the wind observed, and came blowing in, rampaging across the land, rippling the lake of waves, tearing the forests of firs from side to side, and blowing an avalanche of stones from the mountain. And there Wakanda watched as the cold took over the light of day and let out his last puff of smoke. And from that day to this, these days, these 10 days have always been the same. And the Native Americans, the First Nations, call these days the smoking days, whilst others call them Indian summer.
Mm. Oh, lovely. Mm. Oh, lovely.
Thank you.
Lovely story. Wow.
I mean, it's interesting. It's like that Emily Dickinson poem, that the brevity of stories and prose can be their wonder, can't they? Can't it? And the strength. Looking at that story on a page, it's very, very short, but it holds a lot.
But I also think you added a lot to it with your impression of the wind.
Yes, yes. The sound effects were very atmospheric.
Yeah,
Mm.
puts you right in the moment. There's certainly winds howling around us like that at the moment.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I'm in a room with a chimney breast, so I can, you probably won't be able to hear it, but I can hear
Constantly hear it going.
something going on. Yeah. Oh, well, it's good the sound effects are coming across, because I'm never quite sure.
They were excellent.
10 out of 10 sound effects story, could do better.
Oh, it was lovely.
Brilliant. Did that bring up any memories or thoughts or feelings for you?
Well, I spent the first minute or two wondering how you spell Wakanda, which was interesting because I thought it might have been sort of vaguely Mexican, but then it obviously was North American Indian sort of underlying theme. But that was a lovely name, actually.
How do you
I thought, sorry. I thought it had something to do with Marvel, because there is a one of the Marvel stories is about Wakanda forever.
Oh,
really?
I thought the same. There must be a link back somewhere to that, because that's a place that Maisie talks about from Marvel, definitely. But I'm not sure what that link would be. They borrow a lot, don't they, in Marvel?
Yes.
Absolutely. And knowing, I mean, being brought up with cartoons of Tom and Jerry and who was the other one? Wile E. Coyote.
Wile E. Coyote.
Bugs Bunny.
Roadrunner.
And then what was that one?
And Roadrunner.
and Roadrunner.
Yeah.
And then finding that a lot of these characters have come from Native Americans.
All right.
Bugs Bunny.
What? Tom and Jerry?
Perhaps not Tom and Jerry. I don't know. Or a great Sioux chief Hanna-Barbera. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, but Wile E. Coyote, you know, I mean, Coyote in the Native American religion culture belief is a real top character, a creator of many, many things. But he has this sort of creative spirit, but he also has this real foolish trickster, sort of quite idiotic character as well, which I enjoy. Yeah, but Bugs Bunny comes from you know, sort of the hare and what's the name? What am I going to say? Brer Rabbit.
Rabbit. Oh yes. Yes.
Yeah.
African origins, but it's interesting how they do fly around. Yeah. Anything else that, you know? Any other thoughts or feelings? Or?
Well, I thought originally, I mean, one of my reasons for thinking it was sort of vaguely Mexican was that maybe when he was leaning back on the mountain, it was a volcano like Popocatépetl, which was slowly sort of steaming and smoking in the background, but it was obviously somewhere a little bit north of there. But it was lovely. It was really it gave a great picture actually. And I thought to begin with he was going to be an eagle. I thought that with the name, I in my mind's eye I had a vast, like a bald-headed eagle or something, but then he had hands and so on. So obviously it was some sort of creation of in the minds of the First Nation, the American Indians and so on.
Yes, and I guess the word condor, that, you know, the South American bird, is in there. But that would be a lovely image to add to it. After he's done his work, perhaps he takes the shape of a great eagle.
Yes.
Yes. Before he. Next time
I like it.
I'll credit you on that one. Credit Lindy.
Thanks.
Lovely. Shall I read you a bit of Laurie Lee?
Oh yes, please.
Would you like that? Yeah. Laurie Lee time. Laurie Lee time. So talking about where Tina gets her books, I found this one. Is it? Does it come out back to front?
Village Christmas. No, that's fine. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Yes.
And I found that one at the Cleve Village Hall jumble sale.
And that's the one with the carol singing in, isn't it, as well? The episode of the carol singers. Yes.
Yeah. So it does go through the whole year.
Yeah.
And, you know, that lovely photograph of.
Oh.
I think it is boys rather than girls, but, you know, children on sledges.
Those were the days.
Oh. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'll read you this one, and hopefully perhaps lots more memories will come flooding back, and perhaps we could create something together with some of those memories. So this one's called Harvest Festival.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Last weekend, while on a visit from London, I struck gold in the Stroud Valley. For chance and the coincidence of time and weather conspired together to show me the district at its autumn best. The sloping fields and crested beechwoods were bathed in a rich sunlight, more radiant than the airs of Greece. Apples and pears dropped like gifts into my hands, and the clear stone cottages shone like temples upon their hills and hollows. Never had I seen a landscape more tender, more inexhaustible in its variety, more jewel-like in its reflections of sky, leaf, stone, and water. Since leaving the district, more than 20 years ago, I have travelled through some 40 countries, but I know now that the green, crumpled valleys around Stroud are unique in their beauty of contour, intimacy, pastoral charm, and in the shining light that fills them. My visit fell at a perfect time, and for days, 2 days, I walked through the honey-coloured valleys, contrasting their September glories with my earlier recollections of them. And in spite of my incurable leaning towards nostalgic excess, the district had never seemed more beautiful than it did now, glowing with the ripeness of yet another harvest. Then, on the third day, which was Sunday morning, I suddenly heard hymns singing from a church. As a boy living in Slad village, Harvest Festival had always seemed to me to be the crown of the year, an occasion of richness and thanksgiving, when one felt closer to the mystery and benevolence of the earth than at any other time. So, on this glittering, chrysanthemum-scented morning, I went eagerly into the church, seeking the ancient magic I remembered. The valleys stand so thick with corn that they do laugh and sing, sang the choir. Listening to these happy words, I thought, this is true. So they do. And these gifts are their proper symbols. But looking around these handsome urban walls, I could not help recalling, inevitably, Slad Church and the harvest festivals of my youth. I remember one particular which perfectly sums up this almost pagan feeling. I was sitting beside my brother, Tony, who was then only about 3 years old. It was the first harvest festival he had ever attended, but he'd heard so much about it, and his expectation was huge. The air was thick with the odours of fruit and flowers. The choir was fidgeting in the doorway, ready to start its procession. Tony gazed round the church with rapt and glistening eyes. Then, in a moment of utter silence, just before the organ cracked into its first hymn, he asked in a loud, ecstatic voice, "Is there going to be drums? Eh? Is there going to be drums?" It was a natural question, innocent and true, for neither drums nor cymbals nor trumpet of brass would have seemed out of place in those days. As it was, we bawled out thanksgivings at the tops of our voices, and even when we had to sing, "All is safely gathered in," knowing full well that one of Farmer Lusty's fields was still rotting in the rain, this minor discrepancy didn't seem important. What was important was the feeling of magic that we, living intimately with the earth, always experience when we joined to praise once again its everlasting bounty. Whew.
Yeah, lovely.
Lovely, isn't it? I think earlier, I don't know who it was saying, but it may have been Lindy or may have been Denise or may have been Kate. I'm not quite sure, but that about the wonder of nature and harvest and the giving and the food. And I think perhaps Lindy was saying then Lindy was then saying that perhaps now we give things that are wrapped in plastic, but you know, when he says, "So on this glittering chrysanthemum scented morning."
Yes, that was the phrase that I really picked up. The chrysanthemum scented, that is so autumnal and lovely. It's a lovely phrase. Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, that's okay. No, it's okay. I went eagerly into the church. I think actually it's the sentence before.
Oops. Oops. You've frozen. Michael's frozen.
Hope it's not terminal.
No. Send him a message.
That is a lovely book, though, that Village Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The imagery and
Mm.
that was just, oh.
Yes, lovely.
Something's got to me as well.
Yeah, it sounds like that's one I need to add to my list.
I've just actually ordered it on World of Books on my...
Have you? While we've been online?
Yes.
Oh, brilliant.
Multitasking, Lindy.
Well done.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
disappeared now.
Sorry, oh dear.
Well, hopefully he'll be back. We have only 5 minutes, actually.
Mm.
I think he probably will try and rejoin because you sent him a message, didn't you? He knows enough about Zoom to.
There he
There he is.
We think
Oh, you're on mute, darling.
you're mute.
You're on mute. There you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut off in your prime, darling. You were in flow and then you weren't.
I don't think I'll be able to get up to that height again. Because I went away a couple of weeks ago and I was being with BT. I was needing to get online to do something. So I was trying to get this BT hotspot
Oh, yes. Mm.
away from home, which
Right.
I got, which is fine. But now, when I'm completely enjoying myself, on the screen it says, "Get your BT hotspot now! Get it now! Get it now!" I just say, "Go away!
Yeah.
I've got my Wi-Fi hub. I'm completely happy." Jump in. Anyway, yeah. You were talking about chrysanthemum scented, weren't you,
Mm.
Lindy?
Yeah.
And yeah, the bit I just wanted to say was repeat was Harvest Festival had always seemed to me to be the crown of the year, an occasion of richness and thanksgiving, when one felt closer to the mystery and benevolence of the earth than at any other time.
Mm.
And I think that's why I was so upset that I missed the Harvest Festival yesterday, because as Tina knows, I'm really very good friends with Nigel and really like to support what he does. I'm not a churchgoer, but there's something very, very special about that Harvest Festival time. And I think probably as a younger person and as a boy as well, I think that's what drew me in. I think that I always found that, anyway, I won't go into the whole religion thing, but I found it quite intangible, but actually seeing a pumpkin or a marrow or something, or smelling it, I
But
got
it also feels quite a sort of rite of passage through the year. That, you know, I mean, that's one thing about lockdown and being more restricted, is that we, like you were saying earlier, and I think it was Lindy, about missing seasons and then popping up in the next season. And I desperately don't want to miss autumn for any reason, but also that celebration of abundance and moving from the summer, which has been a bit crazy because we had a summer so early, didn't we? And then we didn't really get a summer, and it wasn't quite spring, but it was summer early, and then we got winter when it should be autumn. And so actually something that's like a harvest festival feels like a proper sort of ritual that will take you through. And I'm not a big one for Halloween, but I do love pumpkins. I do love seeing the pumpkins and people playing with the pumpkins, even if it's got other connotations which I'm less keen about. But it's that abundance, isn't it? That sort of fat pumpkin feeling of soup.
Yes. And I guess, you know, nowadays when we know we can buy an apple all the year around, whether it comes from, I don't know, Gloucester or New Zealand, in days gone past, harvest, I guess, obviously a festival, a celebration of that food, the fruition of food and the production and the picking, and it's all, and sharing, but also that now needs to see us through the winter, doesn't it? A lot of, you know, store the apples away, make sure they're in the dark, don't let them touch each other, you know, and it's survival, isn't it? It's so important.
We're nearly at 3:30, Michael. So I think we've got a small bit of leeway, but not much. So yeah.
Okay, I was wondering, so you think we've got what 5-10 minutes or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, should we perhaps create our own scene of Harvest Festival from experience or imagination, so we could just go round and we could tell a story together. It could just be in the first person, so it may be, as I sat on the wooden pew. Hi. You can rhyme it if you want to, whatever you like. And, I saw the vicar standing there with sweat upon his brow. He lifted up a pumpkin huge and dropped it on his toe. I laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. But the pumpkin rolled to my pew. And there I picked it up with bended back and groaning sigh and rolled it to his feet. And then the vicar smiled at me and patted me on the head. I think I'm picking up the rhythm of those other poems.
Very visual.
And then he said, "Here, take this book and read it at your bed." Anyway, bit of nonsense. But I just wondering, perhaps should we just paint a picture of Harvest Festival? Take it in turns.
I like the harvest loaf of sheaves with a little mouse peeping out.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the autumn and the wind which comes with clout.
Yes.
Very good.
Lovely.
And as I placed the book upon the floor, there was a sheath with the little doughy mouse. And as I looked to the one side, I could see a little mouse having a nibble. Not a doughy mouse, but a real little grey mouse, making the most of the bountiful harvest. And so I picked my book up and placed it somewhere else.
Wonderful. And that was the church mouse, was it, Kate?
Yeah, that's my little church mouse. The twin mouse.
I may be wrong, but as I was going through the dictionary today, trying to find that word Sue, I came across a word. I think you pronounce it soricine, SORICINE, as in like equine, bovine, feline.
Porcine.
As in, oh right, Suri.
Soricine. Yeah, I think
Okay,
it's
yeah,
shrew or mouse-like.
Oh right.
Right.
I knew that would be useful at some
Yeah,
point.
lovely.
Yeah.
Shrews.
Yeah.
Shrew. Yeah, relating to or resembling shrews.
Say that again, Tina. Show us your lips.
Shrews.
Oh my God. That'll be my overriding memory of this. How about you, Mary? Have you got a
I'm just
a picture?
I'm on apples. We have a lot of apple trees with wonderful sounding names like Devonshire Quarantine and Christmas Pomain.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Risset and Annie Elizabeth, and they all just conjure up autumn and taste and the pressing the juice and that's very much autumn.
Yeah.
There were such lovely names for apples. My husband's favourite was the Laxton Fortune, which you don't see any of these around in the shops these days. You see all the ones from New Zealand and Golden Delicious from France. You see Coxes, but new ones come along like Pink Ladies and so on. But no, the old English apples were just gorgeous.
All the heritage types we
Mm.
used to have. Yeah, they're completely different names now, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, when we grew planted the orchard, I chose the apples for their names rather than anything else. I mean, they turned out to be good taste as well, but I went for names that just said something to me.
Oh, that's lovely.
Have you got a good harvest this year, Mary?
Not as good as last year, but it's
Right.
enough. Enough and to spare, which is the other great thing about autumn.
Yeah.
Have you been busy collecting them up and storing them all away?
Yeah.
Lovely.
You got a very appropriate name for a woman with an orchard as well.
Well, yes, we.
Can you? Yeah.
That's very true. We have
Ah.
as well.
Well, if I could be so bold as to invite ourselves round to your orchard one day when all the madness is cleared,
Yeah.
we'll come and toast and celebrate your apple trees.
Absolutely. And when you were talking earlier about the hugginess of trees,
Yeah.
I discovered a tree yesterday that I'd not really seen before, and it wasn't an apple tree; it was an oak tree, and its branches spread down to the ground. And you walked into this beautiful, wonderful canopy with the most enormous tree trunk. Just.
Did you hug it?
Oh, I couldn't get round it.
Yeah.
Oh, how gorgeous.
My husband and I together couldn't get round it. It was just so magical.
Where was it, Mary?
Not far from here, from where I am in Churchill.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Sounds wonderful.
Lovely.
I didn't realise that as the trees get older, those limbs drop to give support, like an older person and so on. And we're not actually supposed to take those limbs away. You know, there's a temptation. We all have this idea that a tree goes up and then out like this, but apparently the much older ones, those limbs just naturally drop to the floor as time goes on to give it extra support in the autumn winds. And
Bit like a Zimmer frame.
a little bit like that, yeah. So now when I see them, I think of them as old gentlemen, old ladies.
Lovely. Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah,
Characters.
that does make sense, doesn't it? And I do love it. It's very rare, isn't it, to have low boughs and branches on trees, but I do love it when they are lower down. I mean, the shape is completely different, and I think it allows us to be able to reach and touch a lot more.
Yeah, you can feel much closer to them when they're like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And
How about Denise? Would you like to paint a picture of harvest for us, or autumn?
Well, yeah, yes. I think for me, it's the colours. It's that palette of russets. I was up in Scotland a couple of weeks ago. Well, when I was up in Scotland a couple of weeks ago for a couple of weeks, I took myself off to it's a stately home called Drumlanrig, and the park land is just amazing with very old trees, and one of the trees is a sycamore, which isn't native. There's a sycamore, it's 300 years old, and you've got to take a bus to go all the way around it almost, because it's so huge, you know. And I took lots of pictures, very gnarly and just amazing, and you could literally just live inside it. It was just amazing. So that was one tree, and then avenues of the most ancient, beautiful yew trees as well, which got real beautiful. But the color scheme, the colors were pure. Well, I'm not very good at naming artists, but it's the palettes of all the russets and browns. Then I came home and spent an afternoon going round Wells Cathedral, the Bishop's Palace at Wells Cathedral, and of course, just amazing to walk around there, because over the years I've got a membership and I keep going back, and you know those thistles that are about this big, and they're so bountiful at some point, and the beautiful purpley colours, and now they're like they're sort of like dying creatures because they've gone very, very fluffy, and you put your finger on them, they're not soft, but you imagine them to be, and actually they're quite like a brush, but they've sort of just caved in and they've just gone over to one side. So it's that sort of seeing them being all proud only a few months ago, and now they're sort of like that, like, oh, it's time for me to go to sleep now, you know. It's that lovely thought that the colours are changing, they're getting warmer, and it's almost like, well, we now need to bed down ready for whatever's ahead, but also we can go to sleep. So it made me want to come home and just curl up with a bowl of soup and just sleep for the afternoon, because it just felt like, and also it's like, well, we've put so much effort into growing, and now it's our time to just have a bit of a kip. But in terms of harvest festivals, exactly that lovely. We made one at school. I remember a huge bread wheat sheaf with plaiting it all in. It just was so delightful to make, and then we took it along, or maybe it was when I was in Brownies, we took it along to the local church for the festival. And for me, when people say harvest festival, I see that beautiful, the sort of glazed loaf with all its crisscross and plaits and everything. So, and the smell was absolutely amazing. So yeah, so that's what I think of with harvest festival. But autumn and that moving towards that time when we can sort of start to put on extra layers, but sort of literally say permission to actually to just draw up by the fire and snuggle down, really. So yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's me. Beg pardon.
Your publisher.
As your publisher, yeah. Oh, Lindy's off.
Oh, she's back.
She's back.
Would anybody else like to add any words before we draw to a close? Valerie or Kate? Yeah.
I was just thinking when I was at school, and my primary school, we used to go to the local church. It was a very old church called St. John the Baptist. And at harvest time, it was you'd go in, and I'm very much like my colleague there, where the colours, and it was the one time of the year when they would decorate the church with greenery, and everything was green. Bye. So usually get that reaction.
Trying to sit on her phone.
No, it was just and then the other colours like the russets and the orange, and it was exciting as well, because we would all traipse in with all our little belongings, what we were going to bring to the festival, and it was all sort of exciting what you had, what everybody else was bringing, and we used to just traipse up the aisle and then put it and try to make this great big display, and everything would fall over, and like you say, the bounty and the apples just falling all on the floor and rolling around, and it was fun. It was a fun experience. And often when we went to church when we were younger, it could be quite serious. So yes, it's a wonderful time.
Yeah.
Nice to remember. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, that was a phone call, very strange. I picked up 121 talking about autumn. It was the man from Acorn Stair Lifts. There we go. Yeah.
Very opposite.
Oh, thank you, Michael. It's been absolutely
it's been lovely. Not long enough. We'll have to have
Thank
longer
you.
next time.
Lovely, really enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you very much indeed.
everybody, would you like to do this again? Is this something?
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
It's lovely.
Compare towards a Christmas theme or something next time. Would be lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe people that want to share, some of their own sort of work, maybe they can do, or I think, thank you so much, Michael. It's been
Yes.
Been lovely. Very interesting.
A lovely afternoon.
Nice to meet everybody as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's a real pleasure. I mean, yeah. This does work, doesn't it?
Yes, undoubtedly.
It's extraordinary. I mean, I still think it's complete magic, or I'm dreaming all this or something. It's just incredible.
I mean, Michael and I met back in August, Michael, where we had had the discussion about this, socially distancing outside in the fresh air. And it was a really sunny day, actually, if you remember.
Yeah.
And so for this to come to fruition,
Yeah.
is wonderful. And
Thank you.
I'm really pleased that, you know, people have got so much out of it. It's been great.
And thank you, Tina. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tina, for getting it together.
Yeah,
And
thank you for
you know, thanks
organising.
for all your contributions, because that's, you know, I think that's the lovely thing about it. If I'm offered a space to sort of, you know, facilitate and bring people in and say something myself, I think, you know, it's a lovely thing to do. And obviously I'm missing it so much with not being able to visit people.
Yeah.
Well, I forgot to show you my Flower Fairies book. Flower Fairies of the Autumn.
Oh, yes.
Remember that?
Yeah,
Yes.
My
I
mother,
do remember that.
she knows all the poems off by heart pretty much. She learnt them all when she was little at school. And I just found this yesterday, and she recited off the Song of the Acorn Fairy. So it's amazing. There's some lovely little poems in that.
yes, yeah.
I've got a copy.
Yeah, sorry, we didn't. I asked you earlier, Lindy,
No,
if
no.
you wanted to read something, but you know.
Yeah, well, don't worry. No, we've run out of time, but that's fine. But it was just I sort of thought autumn, and it immediately reminded me of some of these things. So that's great.
Lovely.
I will send round an email to everybody and just ask for a bit of feedback, if that's okay. And so if you want to go away and have a think about maybe what you'd like to see at the next session, then we can go from there with Michael.
And I don't think Michael was listening. I think he was frozen out when
Oh, no,
very rude of me that while you were talking, I actually ordered the Village Christmas on World of Books on my phone. So
there you go.
got that
There you
coming
go.
in a few days' time, which is lovely. I shall enjoy that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful book. I did go gathering a few little bits and pieces beforehand, a sort of cornucopia of nuts and acorns and walnuts and things. But I think this is probably one of my favourite.
Oh, lovely.
Beautiful.
That
It's
is
like
gorgeous.
like a mini oak tree. Really.
It's like my Flower Fairies picture. Look at that one.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
It's very
ooh,
very
that's
alike.
close.
Wow.
Pulled it from your page.
Oh, that's lovely. It's lovely to have the acorns and the acorn cups on as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
you for
Thank you,
organising this.
everybody.
Well,
And hopefully see everybody again soon.
yes. Okay. Bye.
Yeah,
Thank
lovely.
you.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Mary. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Did you want to chat, Tina, or did?
Shall I ring you? Is
Yeah,
that
cool.
okay?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll give you
Okay.
a ring.
Bye
Okay.
then.
Really good, Michael. Well done. Thank you so
Thanks a
much.
lot, Denise. Well, it's
And
lovely to
I
your
have
contribution.
recorded it for you.
Oh, great news.
It's recorded, so it should it'll ask me to save it in a moment. So I'll have that available.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Denise.
Thanks, my
Thanks,
lovely.
Denise.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.